Under 21s are to get £1 bus fare in a £100 million budget deal in Wales. I'm going to read into this more from the BBC, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with an article from the BBC with the headline of under 21s are to get £1 bus fares in a £100 million budget deal. It also says that young people aged 16 to 21 will be able to ride for £1 on buses across Wales as part of a budget deal between the Welsh Labour and Welsh Liberal Democrat leader Jane Dodds. This is awesome. Now, obviously, this is a Welsh story. This is under the Welsh budget. And I'm really, really happy for people for young people in Wales, because there are parts of Wales which is very rural, very difficult for people to get to, and unless you can drive, it's very, very hard to get around. Yeah, there are some there are some good transportation, but there are parts of the country where it's very difficult for youngsters to get to places. Trains can only go so far, and there's only so many. And there's only so much, and when you are young, obviously not everybody can have a car and afford to pay for insurance and petrol and all that kind of stuff that goes with it. So you rely on public transport. Now, the other thing I wanted to show you guys here is this here. Now, this is from walesupdate.uk. I'll put a link for it in the description here, but I just wanted to show some of these from the spending package here. Key points specifically from this: £30 million for universal childcare, increases provider rates of £6.40 an hour. 8.24 million ensuring minimum 3.8 funding increase for 9 local authorities. £5 million for playground improvements. £5 million for water quality initiatives because they for their water. £10 million support council borrowing for road repairs and restoration of Fifth Heart of Wales line train services. So those are just some of the things there. But obviously, I want to specifically look at the bus fares here, because now obviously England is a very different situation, because obviously it's comprised of different regions of how they manage their bus fares. Like in Manchester, they have their own system. In Liverpool, they have their own system. Different areas, different regions manage different buses accordingly. Obviously, because I'm living in London, it's a much more flexible system, although I still find it annoying that the fares that we pay for bus fares are for me should be as low as £1, but unfortunately that's not the situation that we're in. I know, but I do think £1 is a step in the right direction. Now, of course, some people outside the UK will say, well, Regan, quite a lot of people under a certain age get the bus for free because of their age. Well, that's great. Well, unfortunately, we don't have that here. I'd like to have that here, but I also want to point out that, this is better than nothing, is what I would like to say on this matter. So let's read a bit more into it anyway, guys. So announced on Thursday, the deal more than $100 million will also see extra money in which officials will compete the rollout of university childcare to 2-year-olds. It means that the Welsh Government's £26 billion spending plan for the NHS, education and other public service will pass the seed next month, and includes a ban on greyhound racing for cash for local councils. Dodds said the agreement is a positive step for making Wales the fairer and more prosperous country I want it to be. The Finance Secretary Mark Drakeford added that the additional investment will make a real difference to communities across Wales, particularly in rural areas. Meanwhile, the government has announced an extra £4 million for arts and culture bodies following criticisms of cuts in previous years. The Welsh Conservatives, they have no MPs for the record, said the budget for 2025-2026 will not fix Wales and calls for a winter fuel allowance for older people in Wales. Under a £15 million pilot scheme, people aged 16 to 21 will be able to travel anywhere in Wales for any journey for £1, with unlimited daily tickets for £3. It will run for one academic year from this September. Young people have so far welcomed the deal, as some say they find the current bus prices too expensive, including one student who said he spends up to £50 a week on bus fares. Excuse me, £50. £50 on bus fares. That's outrageous. A-level student Ilar Lewis travelling from Cardiff to Colhall in Cymdoth in Nargroup. I'm going to mispronounce names. I know. I apologise. said that it has been eating up her savings just to get a bus. I'd be really happy if they could reduce costs even by a fraction. It would make a big difference to my life, she says. Fellow student Galvin Griffin, 17, said he didn't think the bus service warrants the prices charged. Now it's too costly for students on the minimum wage. Yeah, absolutely. I'll take my bus to work and it costs me £6.50, which is minimum wage for me for my pay. So it costs me an hour of work to take the bus, he said. Buses are always late. They are cancelling routes all the time. So it's ridiculous for us to pay such high prices when the service is subpar. This is the problem here. When you don't have, when you have such below par services and you're paying high rates, it's not right. It's really about the ordinary people here who have been snubbed for a long time. Kiri Lloyd-Jones is a hairdresser student at Colin Mega in Bangor. And she said that the fare would be a big help to her as she takes 6 buses every day to get from Ascot to college. 6 buses. 6 buses. That's the length some of these students go to get their education. Fair play to them, but man, they should not have to be taking such routes. I really do feel sorry for these people. And just reading this article, put in perspective of, reminds you of the lengths that people go to when it comes to their education. This would help me so much as I live in Ascot and I take 6 buses a day. So this £1 would be so much. £3 a day would save me even more money. Exactly. Better money for her as well. Erin 17 from Magalift described the £1 bus deal as an incredible idea because he said it's costly to travel nearby Aberystwyth. I think it would be a lot cheaper for other people who can't really afford to get the bus or drive, she added. With Labour holding 30 of the 60 seats, Welsh Government ministers need the help of at least one opposition politician to get his budget passed in the sea when it comes to a vote in March. Until last summer, it had relied on the deal with Plaid Cymru. Both Plaid and the Tories said they will oppose the budget. Under the budget, 9 local authorities will benefit from a boost to their funding worth £8.24 million, ensuring no council receives less than 3.8% extra in cash next year. While overall council funding was raised by 4.3% because of the way the formula of the funding works, with some authorities would see less, with Monmouthshire receiving an increase of 2.8% and Boys and Gaelic 3.2% each. The Welsh Local Government Association, the WLGA leader, Labour's Andrew Morgan, said, over a decade of cuts by the previous government cannot be undone overnight by a single budget. But this settlement is a decisive step in the right direction. I agree. Yeah, this is the best way of putting it out there. The Welsh Government has promised an extra £30 million for universal childcare. Officials hope to be enough to complete the Welsh Government's plans to reach more 2-year-olds through Flying Start programme. A total of £10 million of the figure will go towards upping the hourly rate of childcare providers are paid to £6.40. National Day Nursery Association Cymru Chief Primary Taku has called, I know I mispronounce names, guys, and they don't need to tell me, called the money a positive step in the right direction in the early years sector across Wales. Rather than digging into reserves or making cuts, Drakeford has used the money set aside when the draft plans for the budget were announced last year. No money has been set aside for a ban on greyhound racing, which was announced by the Welsh Government earlier this week. Giles told the BBC that the ban was part of the package agreed with Labour, but she said it was something ministers had consulted on, was going to happen anyway, and she's hopeful just moving it forward to avoid unnecessary deaths and injuries of dogs. Greyhound Board of Great Britain Chief Executive Mark Bird called the ban a dirty doggy backroom deal to get their budget through. This is not how any piece of legislation should be decided upon. It is the kind of senile behaviour that destroys people's trust in government, he said. I have my reservations about greyhound racing, but I don't hate it. I don't love it. I understand the people who are against it as well. Conservative MS Paul Davis said the Welsh Government should concentrate on the priorities of the Welsh people, such as health, education, economies, and not dogs. Yeah, well, you guys certainly did. Conservatives did very well for Wales for the last 14 years. Oh, that's right. You guys have been out of power. You've never been in power for a long time there. Have you ever been in power in Wales for a long time? Answers on a postcard, please. He said he had an open mind on the ban and would decide how to vote after listening to the debate, but it wasn't appropriate to include all this in the budget. An extra £30 million has been promised for social care, specifically to assess providing care packages for people who are in hospitals medically well enough to leave. Funding will be given to restore the 5th train service at the Heart of Wales line that runs from Swansea to Shrewsbury. A total of 5 million will be offered to improve playground and play facilities, 5 million for water quality, and 10 million worth of support to help councils borrow 120 million for road and pavement repairs. Some 5 million will be offered to leisure centres so they can make more energy efficient. An extra 5 million will be given to tackle water pollution, and 10 million will be earmarked for rural investment schemes. The extra, I'll read this last bit here. Like I said, the link for this will be in the description if you want to read it yourself. But the extra cash for the arts, sports and culture sector is not part of the budget deal. Welsh Government officials said that the cash would restore funding to 2023-2024 levels. Conservative complaining. Welsh Conservatives instead focuses on putting money back into Welsh people's pockets. Yada, yada, yada. I'm not going to take them seriously. Plaid Cymru finance spokesperson Headid said that the party was unable to support the budget, saying it fails to adequately address the challenges that we face as a nation. Elements of the budget are to be welcome, but there are gaping holes which cannot be ignored. And the so-called partnership in power between the Welsh and the UK Labour government is a sham. No HS2 consequential, no fair finding formula, and no devolution of the Crown estate. Yeah, because Plaid Cymru are pushing for independence, obviously, an independent Welsh nation away from them. Interesting, to say the least. Some interesting stuff there, guys. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below on it. On the budget fair, I think it's a great thing. I can't really speak too much about some of the other things within the budget, but obviously if you are somebody from Wales, do share your thoughts on some of these down in the comments below. Do you think, some of this is positives? Do you think it's negative? Personally, some of it looks good. Can there be more done? Of course, there can always be more done. I think we can all agree that there's always work more needs to be done. But I also try to look at the positives in a plethora of negatives when it comes to these things as well. But honestly, let me know your thoughts on this down in the comments section below. If you found this video informative or helpful in any way to you, make sure you hit that like button, share across social media, subscribe if you haven't, and do check out the Patreon and the Rumble pages respectively down below as well for additional content. If you also want to financially support me and the work that I do here, hit that join button down below to join the YouTube membership for as little as 99p. You get access to exclusive benefits on them. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.